Something that's not talked about enough in the industry is
you get burned out.
You're a pretty screwed up individual that is unbelievably buttoned up and put together.
That was something that happened to me.
We are all human beings.
I actually have a chance now to understand how to be a better parent.
You don't have to talk to a person to get your whole job site off the ground and going.
My daughter, she can sniff out the AI instantly.
They're not your customer.
I told Anna, I was like, we're going to see real quick who runs a good restaurant.
Doesn't matter if it's golf or cooking, you will get results when you love what you do.
This is Live on the Clubhouse with Charlie Bolak.
Great golf brings people together. At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PuttView, paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun, interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
Howdy, folks. Charlie Bolak here, founder of Swing Away Golf Club and host of the Clubhouse Podcast, that's filmed live here at Swing Away Golf Club. Today, we're going to be talking about time management. I believe it's a crucial theme to everybody's life these days, and it ties into all three of our topics so well that we just figured it could be the overarching theme and be woven into our three topics today. So kind of without further ado, we're going to talk about kind of how that rolls through the fabric of our lives. So one on the business side, and again, we've chosen a sales role to relate this to, but feel free to relate it to your own life, because this is, this could go to any career you could have chosen. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. We're all busy. It's all going to be a challenge to do the things that we want to do, because there's so many competing interests in today's life, in today's world. So rolling into it and getting through some programming here at Swing Away. So tomorrow is the fastest fastball in the ham challenge. So we wanted to find a way to get out that hey, Swing Away does have more than just golf. So we have the multi-sport simulators. You can throw footballs, baseballs, basketballs, all kinds of fun stuff. So to highlight that, we're going to give away a $50 gift card to whoever can come in and throw the fastest fastball. All you have to do is book a bay. Just at some point in there, get one of the staff members. I think Mo is here tomorrow night. I'll be here during the day. Get one of us to check out your speeds, and whoever has the fastest one, we'll close it down about 8 o'clock or so, and I'll have it in there, and Mo can give it out if you're present. If not, we'll have your name. Just swing on by and pick up your $50 gift card for having the fastest fastball in the hand. Thanks for checking that out. Otherwise, just come on by. I don't know what the weather plan is for the weekend, but as of now, it's pretty wide open here. We got some bookings Saturday night, but that's really about it. So we'd love for you to come check us out. All right, let's roll on into the show here. So talking about this theme of time management, it was a big fight with me when I was a territory rep that they wanted you to plan your calendar. Your bosses want to be able to look in your calendar and see your plan and I guess make themselves feel better that you're out working that day. I was not a planner, and I'll tell you why in the heavy equipment space specialty in particular, really was just overwhelmingly chaotic to the point to where even when you go through the process of planning your day, only a select few days actually made it through the planning process to actually be executed. So one example I will give of that is one of the first times I'd really gone through the effort of planning an entire week. This was it was a Tuesday. I remember that for some odd reason, and it was probably about this time of year, and it might have been right after Memorial Day because it may be a Monday off. But I had this great week planned, and I was going to be in Tuscaloosa, really working on the bypass market out there, trying to chase those customers. I had a day set up. I don't remember if I had meetings. I think I did have a lunch meeting, but pretty much cold calling in the morning, following up on some projects in the afternoon. And I get to the western bypass there in Tuscaloosa coming from Birmingham, and I pull over because I'd taken a phone call on the way and needed to pull over and send a quote. So I pull into a gas station there. And when I say that my day blew up to the point to where by the time I got done sending that quote, I'd taken a call and needed to do another quote and missed some calls. And in the process throughout that morning of returning calls, putting in quotes, booking deals, moving fleet, I did not leave that gas station until it was time to go to my lunch meeting. Even then, it was a relatively rushed affair of the customer I'd been, courting for a while. And I was antsy because I'm missing so many phone calls, even while we're in this meeting. And I knew I had some more quotes to get in. I needed to follow up on some deals that were going out. So, rush through that meeting, get back in my car, not far from where that gas station was. Figured to say, let me just go back over there and, see if I can't get caught up, because eventually I'm going to need to start working my way back to Birmingham, pick kids up and things of that nature. Actually, that might have been before kids. In fact, I think that was probably before kids. But anyway, wifely obligations, family obligations. I needed to get back or begin the trek back to Birmingham anyway. So, get back after lunch, probably 1:30, something like that, at this gas station, and start going through voicemails, pulling quotes, sending quotes, and it was really probably close to 4:00 because I remember I got behind a school bus when I was leaving. I didn't know really what time it was, and look, I said, man, could it be after school already? And sure enough, I'd basically spent my whole workday there. I had a great plan to be all over Tuscaloosa, meet with all these different customers, and ended up spending the day at the gas station instead. Now, it was also one of my most productive days. So that's a very long-winded story as a way of saying, I used that for years as saying that that's why I don't plan my days, because I've never gotten to fully execute. But I think what I missed in those times were the thought that goes in while you're doing the planning. I would be going through getting my plan ready and see a couple of accounts in Tuscaloosa and be like, you know what, I forgot about this guy. I'm glad I looked. I'll go see him. So I think ultimately what it led me to believe of the heavy equipment industry and my personal personality as well is that, as long as I had the rough idea of a plan, then I didn't feel bad. I wouldn't get all worked up if I couldn't execute the plan the way I had it laid out on a particular day, because the way I ultimately did it, I would say, okay, I'm going to be in this quadrant of my territory, Mondays, Tuesdays, this, so you got 4 quadrants. That's 4 days of the week. And then you always leave either Monday or Friday as a catch up, follow up, this kind of thing. And that doesn't mean you have to see every customer in this quadrant. That just means on this particular day, I intend to be on this particular geography of my territory. And, for a younger rep, just having that bit of direction in the mornings to wake up to is so much better than waking up. I lost a very talented young rep after very little time in the field because he did not like the feeling of not having a structure, not having a plan, not knowing where he, was going. And it wasn't, I had given him the quadrant plan. What it was is that he just didn't have a customer base in this geography enough yet. And the feeling of saying, okay, I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be doing this, but I don't know who I'm going to go see. I haven't found them yet. I think that kind of scared him a little bit. And, ultimately that's a frightening prospect. When you're living on a very low base salary, you have to build a new territory. You're coming into nothing, and you say, okay, I've got this guarantee for 3 months, 6 months, a year. But after that, it's kill what you eat what you kill. If I haven't gotten it going by then I'm going to be in a pretty bad way. So that is a frightening prospect looking in. I think after some time in the industry and time in a territory and time, experience, basically, you're not as scared of those things anymore because you've learned how to prospect. You know how to find the customer when there isn't a list, or you know how to make the list better because anybody can go buy a list or download a list of contractors in a geography, but I'll tell you this from painful experience, 90% of the time, the addresses aren't right. If you think a phone number is going to get you to anybody, you're wrong. You've got to really start with these breadcrumbs and just kind of follow up the trail until you find these people. Generally, it's going to be on a job site. But then once you do, you can build some of the best relationships you'll ever build. You're just not going to find these folks in an office. And that's the way the heavy equipment works. That's why I was attracted to it. And ultimately, I think that's why I was successful in it, because I like that chaos. I need a certain amount of that chaos to keep my daily, interest peaked, I guess is a good way to point it. Okay, so still we're talking about that, and the way we're going to tie all this back into time management for the sales rep is that money affects or that productivity affects your money. That to me was the single best part of being a commission rep is there's no busy work, side work, nothing that you're not going to get paid on if you do it right. If you go out and you might spend 100 hours of your life prospecting this person, taking them out, doing what needs to be done to ultimately close the deal, and it's a journey from start to finish. And if you don't manage your time in the process, you're not going to have any left, and you're not going to be financially where you need to be because you worked harder, not smarter. There's a great little one line, and I really wish I could have remembered it. It's, you do not rise to the level of your intention, you fall to the level of your schedule. I mean, man, I tell you, there's not a better way to put it. I'm not a big planner. My wife will tell you this is probably one of the biggest friction points in our lives, is that she is a very structured and a very planned individual, and I'm not. I'm more kind of shoot from the hip. But I will admit that a certain minimum amount of planning is necessary to any and every endeavor. I had to learn that the hard way over many, many years, and I had some very patient bosses that really took time to explain the whys and the hows to me, and it made sense. It finally one day clicked after fighting it for quite some time. But all right, so we've tied that back in. If you're not, and again, it doesn't have to. You don't have to be heavy equipment, right? Whatever you're doing professionally, it's time management is going to be at the key of your, or at the center of your daily rituals. So here's a good way to do it. So day before, always set your schedule day before. I was a morning of, but I would get up early. Like I've always been a morning person, so I would get up 5:30, and I'd start going through Dodge reports. I would again, I have my quadrant, so I know where I want to be. So it's a matter of me looking into my Dodge reports, looking into projects I've got in that quadrant, customers I need to see in that quadrant. And after a while, after you've defined your cadence, your customers start to pick up on that. You'll have certain customers that, if you're in their quadrant on a Tuesday and they have something they want you to look at, they'll call you and be like, "Hey, can you come up Tuesday? I know you try to be in this area on Tuesdays. Can we set something up?" And that really, just kind of is compounding. It compounds like interest does. It's you build that up, and ultimately one day you're sitting on a gold mine of a territory where your customers are trained. They know the way you like to do business. You've adjusted to them. They've adjusted to you. It's just an ultimate great feeling situation. When you look back after a 5-year or whatever journey in a particular geography and say, "Man, I tell you what, coming in from day zero, I had zero. I knew nothing. I knew nobody. Not what I was doing." And now here 5 years later, I've got a phone full of contacts. I've done millions and millions of dollars worth of business. It all starts with having a plan, executing your plan. And I will tell you this, if your plans are surface level, one of my favorite words once I made it into management was, telling other greener or younger sales reps that if you're waking up in the morning and chasing, a 4-inch pump deal, then I've won before I got out of bed, because I'm chasing projects that are years down the road. I know of a bypass that's going to go on in Bessemer at some point in the next decade. That's going to be one of the biggest, bypasses in the history of the state of Alabama. But it's that kind of stuff is 10 years in the planning. It's part of a 25 year sewer master plan. So if you're still thinking transactionally on a deal-to-deal basis, maybe you're in the part of your career where you need to be. But if you're wanting to get to the next level, then I challenge you to take that strategic thinking to that next level before you get out of the territory, before you take that next step up the ladder. Challenge yourself to become more strategic. Define everything within your territory, know everything within your territory, or book a business. Now, this isn't geographically limited. It can be based on a book. It can be based on a collection of customers, whatever that may be. Once you know how to strategically define overall goals, make your tools work for you, you will be more efficient, you will be more successful, and you will find that you have more time. All right, perfect. So that, I think, takes us through the business topic. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to hit. Okay, yeah, I did miss one good one. An excellent line is your calendar should reflect your commission goals. So prospecting is not on your calendar, then you're really not trying to grow a particular territory, right? Maybe you're farming, maybe you have a couple customers, maybe, there are non-growth territories out there, and there are non-growth reps out there that are great at what they do. They're just not hunters, and that's okay. I mean, not everybody can be a hunter. If follow-up's not on the calendar, closing's not the goal. Now, as a person who's come from the always be closing school of sales, I don't know that I 100% agree with this, but I will say, you can be relationship, job, focused to where you're not trying to close a deal. I mean, I could be calling on a customer that I'm not trying to do any business with this calendar year, hell, maybe even next calendar year. But I may know that there's a wastewater treatment plant job that only this guy can do, or there's a project coming that this guy is going to get because he's the one that wants it bad enough to go out and cut his margins a little bit and take the project. So, plugging in and being part of an industry brings you, knowledge that no, territory rep right out of school is going to inherently have. There's no way they can, pick that up that quickly. There's no way to plug in unless, I'm training somebody and I'm plugging him into my network as I go. And, that's always a great situation, but, not many people throughout a career find themselves falling into a situation like that. So, best know how to go out and build this thing and do it the right way, rather than relying on, a lucky situation. All right. So getting into fatherhood here. And again, the whole theme of the episode is time management. And, it's kind of on this part where I find myself currently in life is, I don't have the time to just go pluck a few minutes here and there. I'm having to find efficiencies in my day-to-day that will free up time that I can give to that I can allocate other ways. And I really, outside of the business context of understanding how to allocate and how, or how, the process works, not necessarily how to do it myself, and going through the process and saying, okay, here's what time I have, here's what I need to accomplish, here's what I would like to accomplish. By the time you filter those down, there's just not a whole lot of time left. So, what we've looked at, Anna and I, beyond, getting as much help as we can from anybody in our network, capable of watching the kids for a few minutes while we clean the house or while we, run out and have a drink together or dinner or something like that. It's finding little places like in the business world, like we talked about, if you master your territory, you do those strategy items, you segment your top 10s, you drop your bottom 20s. I mean, you will get to a point to where you're not having to put in the effort to maintain what you've got and to even grow. You maintain a velocity of a pipeline much more simply once you've built it the right way, have the right network exist in that, and that frees up time, on the personal side, on the fatherhood, on the marriage, on the, all of that. And, it can be so challenging once you let yourself fall behind that time curve to find those efficiencies. And that's kind of where Anna and I find ourselves right now. We've talked about on the show, working from 5:30 to in the morning to 10 at night. And, ultimately, yeah, the goal is do it now so we don't have to do it later in life. But there's no given that it's going to last. There's no given that all of this, I could put in, thousands at this point, hours of my life to Swing Away Golf Club. And if it fails, then, I'm out thousands of hours, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and, on to the next lesson in life. And I think, something that was pointed out to me was don't lose sight of everything else along the way. Yeah, you got a lot on the line. Yeah, you got a lot at risk, but you got a lot there to be present for as well. And that's another, reason we decided to do this topic is kind of a top-down look of, hey, where can I find some time? I do want to do these things with my kids. I love taking Teddy to baseball. I love taking Frank outside and letting him do some water play. I love doing things with Leo, taking him to McWayne. But when you're working like this, you just don't have the time to do those things. And it really puts pressure to be more intentional and more present for the time that you do have. I know I'm working really, really hard to spend less time. And I'll tell you, Anna walked in last night, and I was sitting in a dark room, no phone, no sound, wasn't necessarily trying to go to sleep. But after the day, so many sounds, noises, lights, everything going on throughout the course of a day. I'm trying to come home and just kind of separate that for a little while, 10 minutes silence, not necessarily meditating, not necessarily doing anything, just kind of letting my body regulate, taking some deep breaths. I don't remember if I had the light on or off. It definitely wasn't a bright room, but it wasn't intentionally sitting in darkness or anything like that. Just just wanted a few minutes of silence to kind of just, do you call it relax, shut down, turn off? I don't know, but it was almost immediate. Within 5 minutes, my kind of pulse, my stress, I could just kind of feel my body kind of let go of a few things that it had been holding on to. And, I tell you, that's something I'm going to be practicing on a lot here over the next few days, because it allows you, or at least it did me, to find that little place where I could separate it and let some of those troubles not go away, but just hang out for a little while I'm intentional with my family, with my kids, with my wife. And man, I tell you, I'm hoping that's going to be, really, really revolutionary to the way I kind of comport myself and the type of husband and father that I am, because it's so hard when you get wrapped up in the day-to-day to take that step back and take those breaths and it's the classic line, getting upset over spilled milk. I tell you what, when you're in the middle of it, dinner, you gotta get the kids fed, you gotta get them in bed because you gotta do this, and then you gotta go work some more, and a glass of milk spills, and yeah, damn it, I'm frustrated, but you're not frustrated at a kid, you're not frustrated at your wife, you're just, it's just something else you're going to have to clean, something else you're going to have to do, some other obstacle in between you and your ultimate goal. And for very goal-oriented people, when they see impediments to their goals, just stack and stack and stack. I don't know if I'd call it anxiety, but with me, it's almost like like I said, like a rage, like a fury almost of how dare this situation happen? And you're not mad at the kid again. And you're not mad at anyone in particular, except for the fact that it's happened. And that's, so being able to find that peace, and being able to know where it is, know where it lives inside of you, and be able to channel it. Maybe not instantly. I hadn't got there yet. I hear some people can. I'm not there, but to have that in your back pocket, really, man, I tell you, and I haven't been doing it long, not great at it, but I see the potential. I see the value to my life. So I'm really going to invest in seeing if that can help me be more present, more intentional, and just a better husband and father. All right, so rolling now into the golf topic, and I've heard this over the years, and I think even some of the pros do it on a much tighter scale, obviously. But pick one thing for a season to work on, not on driving accuracy today, and then get mad if you don't hit 90%, greens in regulation the next day. So what I've done is specifically wedges. Is say, okay, my practice is going to focus around wedges because I need to learn how to throttle a swing. Like I couldn't, if I wasn't swinging out of my socks, I couldn't take a little bit off and still have the same consistent swing. And so for this year, that has been a focus here in Swing Away, and particularly with the wedges, because that's, the easiest way to learn those throttles. So what I'll do is, okay, I'll take 3 different clubs and try to hit at one distance. And there's reasons you would do this on the golf course. So if I say, okay, 75 yards, and I'm going to hit it with a 60 degree, I'm going to hit it with a 56 degree, and I'm going to hit it with a 52 degree. What I'm doing is I'm taking that distance at 3 different arcs, and I'm trying to carry it. So when I say that distance, I'm working on a carry distance. I'm not necessarily worried about where my ball goes or what happens after that 75 yards. I want a good, consistent arcing ball flight that drops at 75 yards. And you're seeing some of the challenges come out with the full swing. What they're doing with the kid on the range is basically the same thing, saying, okay, if you can hit these 3 numbers, you win a prize. So they'll say 100, and if you can hit 100 and then 150 and 200, then you win something. I think if you get on the numbers, you win something pretty nice. But they've scored it, and it really, it's a great challenge. Again, before I got into indoor, I didn't know to even look at carry distance. Never thought about it at all. If it was 150 yards, yep, 900. If it's, but if it was 140 carry, and that last 10 is just on the green to the pin, you had to carry left. I would have hit it in the lake and wondered why every time. Never would have figured it out. And in 30 years of playing golf, I never figured it out that, hey, you don't know your carry distance. So, that is why it has been so impactful to my game. That's why you see me, on some of these courses, going out and shooting around even par on a 6,500 yard course. Not that I couldn't do it, or not that I could go out and do it on green grass, because, those 10-foot gimmies, right? How many of those putts am I going to miss? I don't think I'm in any danger of breaking 80 at a world-class course in person anytime soon. But my golf game is leaps and bounds from where it was a year ago. And that's all thanks to the amount of time I spent practicing here at Swing Away Golf Club on the Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators, on their driving range, using the range intentionally, learning my distances, learning my swing, learning how to throttle swings. And anybody can do it, right? I'm not a talented person, not even a really good golfer. Just played a lot of golf here recently, and have gotten very analytical in the way I study my game. And so I would say that my advantage is that I know my game better than I did, and I can make better decisions on the golf course. Plus, I have a more consistent swing because I'm swinging every day, 5 days a week. Well, guys, that's going to do it here for the Clubhouse with Charlie Bolak. Thank you so much for coming. Work on something this week for me. Pick one thing to work on your time, for your time management. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be through any of the topics, professionally, personally, golf. Pick one thing, improve it. Let me know how it goes. Thank you.
Great golf brings people together. At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PuttView, paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun, interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
Howdy swingers, Charlie Bolak here. Happy Saturday. It's, let's see, getting towards the end of May. I think maybe the 30th here. And some good news here at Swing Away Golf Club. We're growing. I think we found the bottom, we hope, in March. You know, February was a big shock after a busy winter. And, you know, we really kind of went into scrambled mode there towards the end of March. You know, getting into April, we redid our pricing, redid our membership, redid our marketing strategy overall, and you know, we're starting to see some results of that finally. Thank you. So thank you all for joining the journey, be it whether you're watching the golf, whether you're watching the Clubhouse podcast itself, or any of the other stuff we're putting out there, or if you're just coming in and supporting, you know, renting a bay. We've got some new members. It's man, it's been really exciting. So again, just wanted to start out with that, to thank everybody and to invite the folks that haven't had a chance to come on down to check it out. I mean, I truly believe that I have the best setup, definitely in Central Alabama. I mean, I would put us up against some of the bigger cities too, against Atlanta, Nashville. I mean, you know, we've put some real world-class technology here in Birmingham, Alabama, and people are starting to recognize it and come in. So once again, thank you all. And that's going to kind of lead us into the first topic today in the Clubhouse podcast, and that's supporting local. You know, today's day and time, especially Anna and myself with 3 boys under 6, it's hard. It really is. There's some local restaurants that we both really want to go see that we haven't had a chance yet. There's some really great stuff out there that we want the opportunity to, you know, support. But just, you know, with everything that's going on in the business, Anna's new job, the boys, we just haven't had the opportunity. So, you know, I get it. I understand the struggle. I know how hard it is to get out there. But, you know, as a small business owner local to Birmingham, Alabama, I mean, I'd say I'm local to Homewood. I'd say I'm local to Hoover. You know, we need that support. We need any support you can throw our way, even if it's, you know, just sharing, subscribing, liking some Facebook posts, talking about us. Every little bit helps. And it's, you know, it's like I said earlier, just it's been a complete and absolute journey. You know, it's, somebody said to me the other day, opening a business like this is, you know, your first year, you're basically walking alone through the desert. And I felt that. I mean, you know, I've gone through every round of emotion that I thought humanly possible, from, you know, the elation of the first few days where we actually made a break-even number to the first break-even week or month. We haven't gotten to a break-even quarter yet, but hopefully that's coming. So, you know, it's the emotional roller coasters from the highs of closing the loan, getting the construction started, and, you know, just like buying a lottery ticket, convincing yourself that, you know, this is your ticket to the private yacht and everything. And then, you know, getting in the building and being so pleased with everything you have, and opening the doors to, you know, crickets pretty much. We had a decent grand opening and you know, started immediately getting people that were coming back. But I think I underestimated the rate at which it would grow and the rate at which it would become self-sufficient. You know, and that's been part of the journey as well, you know, kind of underselling this whole project to Anna as, you know, roses and sunshine, and we get into it, and it's, I will describe my day, what was it, 3 days ago, all this rain in Birmingham is great for me, professionally because it brings people into swing away, but it causes struggles personally down to cutting grass. So, I get up early with our kids. Anna, takes a little extra time in the morning to get going. And she pays it back on the back end. She stays up a little bit later with the kids. So it all balances out. But anyway, so my middle son, Teddy, gets up very early. So he was up at 5:30, and I get up again with the kids. And so we'll start getting Leo's stuff ready, and eventually Frank will wake up. You'll hear him on the monitor. So we'll go get him and start acclimating everybody into the chaos of the morning. So up at 5:30 with Teddy, get the boys up. They've been out of school this week, so I think that was the day that Teddy and Leo both came to swing away with me for the day. Somebody picked them up in the afternoon. I worked open to close here at Swing Away. We happened to close early enough that there was still a little bit of sun. It must have been a Monday or Sunday or whatever the circumstance was. We happened to close. There's a little bit of light. And I'm driving home. I thought, wow, I might have an opportunity to cut grass. So, get in, just immediately throw some clothes on, run out. You're racing the sunset. Can I get it all cut? Can I get it blown? And the answer was no. I ran out of time for blowing. But anyway, you put the lawnmower up, get it cleaned off, and half of you's like, okay, well, let's dinner, bed. Where are we at now? And walk upstairs to the bedtime routine, and take Teddy to shower, help get everybody, set up and ready for bed. And then Anna and I look at each other after Teddy gets down. We get him down, and we look at the kitchen. The kitchen's just an absolute wreck. So, she and I tag team the kitchen, and it's just, it's 10 o'clock at night at this point, and all you can do is get set up for the next day, get cleaned up, rest, relax, repeat. Rest, relax, rinse, repeat. I like it. And that's just the life, that we've chosen. The life that I chose for us in a way, kind of, undersold it to Anna that it was going to be a lot more fun. Not that we're not having fun. There are absolutely fun times, but just that snapshot of a day. What was that? 18 hours. That's the normal day in the life. Now. Good news, that being said, I'm month 12 in my little desert here, and we are starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. So we are proud and happy to announce that Jamal Brooks has joined the team here at Swing Away, and we've done. Howdy Swingers, Charlie Bolak here, welcoming our newest member of the Swing Away family, Jamal Brooks, local Bessemer product, D1 athlete, and this son of a gun whacks the hell out of a ball. Almost puts a hole in my screen every time he hits here.
That's why I have to work here now.
To pay off the hole in the screen back there. Yeah. That's right, absolutely. So everybody, Jamal is going to be here. It's every Friday, every other Thursday, and any other time we can talk him out of whatever he does on his free time, maybe working out. Look at him. All right, so Jamal, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us what attracted you to golf first of all, and tell us about some of the experiences we've had here together.
Yeah. Again, man, thanks for having me, being here. So again, I'm Jamal Brooks. I'm originally from Bessemer, Alabama. Bessemer City High School product. Honor student. I like to call myself a scholar baller, and so went to the University of Missouri for undergrad. There I got my bachelor's degree in sport management with a minor in business. Wasn't the first option, but that's what we left with.
That's where we went.
That's where we went.
I had a few second options myself.
Then COVID gave me extra year eligibility, so I did a grad year at South Alabama. That's where I got my MBA. I had a phenomenal football season that year. Ended up getting picked up by the Bears. Spent some time out there. Officially finished my MBA. And then from there, I played a year in the XFL. Now, it was that weird time in between getting released from Chicago. I had a birthday XFL that kind of got me into golf. You know, I tell people all the time, my dad had some clubs at the house. I've always kind of been interested in it, especially like younger, you know, hearing about Tiger and just kind of guys growing up, but never really had like a desire to go out there and play until I think it was like 22nd birthday, got released. I was home. There was this girl, of course.
Always a girl. Always a girl.
There was always a girl. There was this girl that she worked out at the RTJ. She was like, hey, just come hit. And so I went out there, and it was oddly relaxing. You know, something new. Obviously playing pro sports, you kind of get into this mindset of, you know, having to master your craft no matter what it is.
And just, and the drive to be
You
good,
know,
and then not understanding why you're not good at something. That's yes. I was never a pro athlete, but I had that kind of drive because I was a good athlete. I was a natural athlete. I just never had the drive to work as hard.
You're an entrepreneur, right? And so
now,
but yeah, you know what I mean? Like, being an entrepreneur is the same mindset. It's the same.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Core, you know, focus, niche, you know, ideas.
It's got to be that drive, that
you
type
have
A,
to,
go,
right?
yeah.
And so, that's what kind of got me into golf. Then I got picked up in the XFL, and then I got into a serious four-wheel accident.
Oh.
And so, I almost lost my life. Didn't, you know, thankful for just
absolutely.
to be here,
yeah.
right?
Make you look at things differently.
You know, it does. And so from there, once I was cleared to kind of return to play, golf was and has been the only thing that, again, gives me that competitive drive, that peace, that calm, that, you know, just go out there and have fun mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get into a zone sometimes, especially playing with yourself on the sim. I do. Where it's almost like that runner's high. How people would you know, describe that. And it's a workout thing. I don't know if you, athletes have something they call it, but
no. That's exactly what it is. And I'm developing that. The more I play, and I know we've had some run-ins here. You told me to get into that, and I will. The more I play, right, and it was after I started coming in here, getting a little bit better, I go out, you know, outside, and it's like, okay, like, you get into that zone. You find your swing. I'm able to kind of recall some of the things that felt good in here. Okay, this is how the club face is coming off. I'm starting to, you know, be able to pick up on stuff, and so it's definitely, let's just, instead of runner's high, athlete's high. Right? It's definitely an athlete's high where you get in the zone. And so, you know, just kind of coming back to some of the moments in here, you know, I remember, again, it's always a girl. I wanted to go play one day. It was getting late. So there was a girl on this side of town that I was coming to see. And she was like, well, there is a simulator place over here on Lakeshore.
I remember it. I remember that night.
And I'm like, no, there's not. She was like, yeah, it is. Of course, by this time, I call myself into golf. So I'm like, nah, I think I know all the golf sim places around. Yeah. She's like, no, it is. So, of course, I'm driving up Lakeshore.
There it is.
And I'm like, no. It like
I don't think we had been open a month at that point. I mean, we were just unpacking boxes and getting going.
Yeah, and so when I remember I pulled up, and I actually, you know, you were out there, I think, taking out trash or something like that, and I pulled up and I sat in the car. I'm like, man, I really don't know. Like, you hadn't had all the, again, you were still open. You hadn't had the open light up.
Oh, like, we didn't have an open sign at that point.
You know what I mean? It was fresh, and so I sat, and then, you know, I was like, dang, I don't know. And I was on the phone with her. She was like, just go pull on the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. But before I could even pull on the door, you were, you know,
and there, so, I remember that. And then you were like, you for some reason said you had something to do. You weren't going to stay. You just want to look around. I convinced you to stay. I think I did.
I'm like, I said, you're closed. You know, I'll leave. You know, that kind of that awkward, like, but you got me to stay, man. I think I stayed here maybe 6 hours.
Yeah, that was
that's probably an exaggeration. Probably it was definitely a good 3 to 4 hours.
Well, and you were probably my first paying customer in days. So I mean, I was stoked.
But no, we sat, we talked, I learned a lot just about you. Again, you know, you're a hometown guy. You're from here. Learning a lot again. Me personally having that entrepreneurial like drive, desire, relating to you there. Obviously relating on golf, right? But just kind of hearing your process and why you wanted to open this place, and you know your kind of inner self wanting this to work. And I remember leaving here that night. I'm like, man, I can't wait to go back. You know, and I think we kind of talked about that, and we started bouncing marketing ideas.
Oh yeah,
off each
absolutely.
other.
And TikTok. Yeah, man. You told me
video.
early on to get on TikTok, and I said, well, I've got a social media person. You know, I'm not. You know, we're not really going that way. And we hesitated and got into a fairly bad situation. And you know, what is it? About 2 months ago, I started really, you know,
right. You were telling me
TikTok,
you just started posting, and so
and it's cross your fingers. We're picking up month over month, and you know, I think we're going to finish this month 30 to 40% over last month, which was up 25 over the month before. So it's, you know, when you get that low though, it's not that big of a, you know, but it's still, it's great. We had some great times. I'm stoked for the times we're going to have coming up. I'm excited. You know, come play some golf with Jamal. The guy hits it so far. Just watch how far he hits the ball. It's amazing.
I'm still a novice, but
don't get behind the screen when he hits.
No, don't do that. But yeah, come on out. I'm excited to meet everyone. Again, if you've been here before, you already know the environment that it is here, and so I'm just here to help kind of push that forward. Not doing anything but the ordinary things in an extraordinary way. Right? So
that's what we do. That's what. One thing builds on another, every little step on to the next. Well, Jamal, I'm stoked. Hopefully everybody else is stoked. I've cut myself out of the picture here, so let's see if I can. There we go. All right. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be right back, and come see Jamal in here. Thanks so much. Jamal is going to work every other Thursday, every Friday. We've still got Alex. Alex is going to move to Wednesdays. So we have Wednesdays covered hopefully every Wednesday, or as many Wednesdays as Alex can. Thursday, we've got Jamal every other Thursday. And then every other Thursday, a kid named Mo. Mo, I apologize, I don't even know your last name at this point, but I know you have joined the team, and hopefully today will be your first day this afternoon. So when you get in here, we'll do a little interview segment with you. We'll cut it into this, and man, I'm so stoked to have three guys with me in this journey. Alex has been with us 1 day a week, pretty much from the beginning, and that's been my only day off consistently every week. So big, huge thanks to Alex. Thanks for sticking around and moving to Wednesday when Thursdays didn't work out for you anymore. It's going to be so great to have some help around here. Anna and I were already talking this morning about possibly looking at upgrading the cocktail menu and possibly our food menu if we start to get this summer pop that we're really hoping to get. We're going to kind of reintroduce the menu, maybe do a summertime menu. And just see kind of where it goes. This is our first year. We don't know what people are going to do when it's 102 and humid and yucky outside. We hope they're going to come to Swing Away, but we don't know yet. So once we start to see some of that, we will have some big things working here at Swing Away Golf Club. Again, just want to say thank you to everybody who supported us along the way. Please don't take this as an opportunity to take your foot off the gas, though. We got, we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel, but we got a long way to go still. So please keep pushing with us, for us, together, however you want to think of it. Welcome Jamal and Mo, and welcome back. Not back. He never went anyway. Maybe took a week off. But Alex, thanks to the team, to the crew we're going to have here. Looking forward to a excellent summer. And that kind of concludes our business topic. Kind of giving you a bit of a look behind the scenes at the overall picture of Swing Away Golf Club. We're not where we want to be, but we're growing, and that's at this point that's what's important to us. Thanks again to everybody. All right, that's going to roll us right into our parenthood segment. So we've kind of been following this journey with Teddy, and kind of teaching him to behave as a normal human being in society, as opposed to the little wildlings that you have before they understand the rules that society places on a person, before they can enter society, and the rules about which they can operate in society. And as somebody who kind of always bucked those rules a little bit, now having to teach it from the other side, I feel like I'm doing some learning as well. So a particular instance that sticks out is Teddy's newfound love for everything food not prepared at home. Most recently, with them being out of school and being here with me up at Swing Away Golf Club, there's a Subway a couple doors down, and Teddy has just absolutely decided he loves ham and cheese sandwiches. So even though we have the ham and cheese here, we're fully capable of making an excellent sandwich. Something about the Subway experience to a 4.5-year-old just blows anything we could do out of the water. So, that's been fun. We actually let him go in for the first time by himself. Now I'm standing at the door, at Swing Away, watching him walk 30 feet over to the entrance of Subway, where I can still see him when he's inside. But he loves it. That was a thrill for him. It was his first, real, as he would say, big boy experience. And it's so fun as a parent being able to, curate these experiences for your children. And it's really kind of made me think back to when I was that age. I don't know if I have any memories of being exactly 4, but I can remember, there was a Wendy's and a Hardee's on our way home from school, or when my mother would pick me up, and a day that we got to stop at that Wendy's or that Hardee's, or there might have even been an Arby's or something like that. Those days were the days that stick out in your memory as some of the best days, even though, looking back, it's, not the best overall meal choice, but it brought so much joy. And now seeing it from the other side, I understand how much joy my mother must have had, seeing my face light up at getting in the Wendy's drive-thru. So, that's fun experiences. Enjoy those times with your kids while you have them. And it doesn't take much. I told a story the other day of all these toys we have at the house, but the kids love a box or a thing of yarn. I think that's the big picture that sometimes we miss when we're wrapped up in everything is, we can give you all the best toys in the world, but you and me playing together with this ball of yarn is more fun. And that, if you stop to think about it, that makes sense. That's my problem, is I need more and more to stop and think about these things rather than living so wrapped up in all the external factors. So there's your advice for the day as far as parenthood. And then again, don't use this or take it to the bank. I'm not a particularly good parent anyway. I try very hard though, because I have great kids. But thanks again. We'll roll on into our golf improvement topic. And, I think this is probably the second or third time we've talked about this. I don't do it, but I know the value is there. If we could play every round, not for a score, but to work on a particular item, it immediately increases your enjoyment of the game. It increases the fulfillment you get out of it. And it ultimately will increase or decrease your overall scores, if you will. Putting yourself in these situations and working on particular shots, like right now, I have never been a high ball hitter. I've always been kind of a low line drive guy. And that's just been my golf game. And I've learned over the years how to kind of adapt to it rather than trying to fix the underlying issue, which is the fact that I can't stop a ball on a green because I don't hit a ball high enough. So now that I've gotten into the sims and I get all this data, I can work on these and talk to people, read tips. Hey, what can I do as far as my setup? Getting back, getting my shoulder under, and there's all these things. And with the real-time results on the simulators, I have really been able to dial in my game in a much more efficient manner because I see what I'm doing to try to affect the change. I get to immediately measure the results of those change, and then I can work on the practice repetition part of making the actual change to my golf game. And look, that's going to about do it for our live here. We're going to loop some of our golf here. I think this is TPC Potomac, maybe. Let's see. Oh, it's Victoria National Golf Club. And again, I don't even think the sound is going to come through on here. But these lives, when they stay on, it just brings more visibility to us. So again, thank you all for joining the Clubhouse. We'll get this edited down into a show, get it released hopefully in the next 7 or so days. And that's about it. In the meantime, keep coming in to Swing Away. Thank you for joining. Have this in all, of a parody. I started to say all joking, but it's not. I mean, there's a hint of seriousness to it, but the question is, what are the ethics of sending your kid to daycare? I know the rules, but what are the actual ethics? What does average Joe and Jane, do with their kid when they're sending the kid? Because we have, Frank in daycare, and he brings home the most exotic colds, and I've talked about on the show, I got hand, foot, and mouth a couple years ago from Teddy. Well, I think from Teddy, who knows? But even as an adult, I didn't even know you could get something like that. Something that's not talked about enough in the industry is
You get burned out.
You're a pretty screwed up individual that is unbelievably buttoned up and put together.
that was something that happened to me.
We are all human beings.
I actually have a chance now to understand how to be a better parent.
You don't have to talk to a person to get your whole job site off the ground and going.
My daughter, she can sniff out the AI instantly.
They're not your customer.
I told Anna, I was like, we're going to see real quick who runs a good restaurant.
Doesn't matter if it's golf or cooking, you will get results when you love what you do.
This is Live on the Clubhouse with Charlie Bolak.
It's probably the 10th podcast I've been on as a guest.
Really?
Yeah.
And you've been on as a host. I mean, we should look into the podcast Hall of Fame, see if anybody's there yet. Yeah, that to get into it, start it off. I mean, that had to be a neat time, to say I want to talk about heavy equipment. Did you have co-hosts, or how did it all come to be?
Well, and you'll read about it in the book, but basically, I was working from home during that time, and my rule is never to turn on the TV before 5 o'clock news. And this one day, I happened to do it at 4:45, and Dr. Phil show was on. And he was interviewing a lady by the name of Ariva Martin. And she had written a book about rebranding yourself. And if anybody needed rebranding at that point in their life, it was me. So I bought the book, and in the book, it said, you can have your own radio show. I said, and it's through a company called Voice America. So I contacted them, and they didn't have anything about equipment rental or equipment sales or construction equipment in their lineup, which was worldwide. And so I got together with them, and we kicked off Rental Equip Talk Radio. And I billed it as a call-in talk show, basically. It was noon on Wednesdays, and I knew that everybody in the rental business was not shy, and they always had something to complain or bitch about. I said, man, this is a win-win all the way. So I cranked it up. It started about 18 months before the pandemic, and it stopped at the pandemic. So I advertised on the RER reports about what my subject matter was going to be, and had the phone number and all that kind of stuff. And Charlie, nobody calls.
You know, it amazes me still. You know, not that it's the same thing, but I'll have these events here. I had a Evil Leprechaun 4-ball old timey scramble back when I think St. Patrick's Day, and I bought a set of Knickerbockers, a nice scaly hat. You know, was going to sell teams, had drink specials. I tell you, Donald, I sat up here that entire day in my Knickerbockers, my Boston Scally cap, by myself. Not one person opened my door the entire day. I was shocked.
Yeah, well, I had to kind of redo the format and started to have guests in. And so I would have the guests free to them. The whole idea was to sell advertising on the show, of course. And so I would have the guests and I would say, you give me the questions that you'd like me to ask you so that you get the most out of the show. And so like a guy right up in Baton Rouge, Brian Evans with Evans Environmental, you know, he was one of my first guests who talked about wash systems and stuff like that. Another guy was a buddy of mine, Dan, up in the north. He's in the Northeast right now, and he's a broker, just like I am. And so I had him talk about the different aspects of preparing your business for sale, and I had James Wade on as a guest about M&A work and the legal stuff around it, and a lot of things like that. So, but sometimes I had to write a script for an hour, and it wasn't video like this. I was just talking into a microphone. So, man, I'm gonna tell you, I had like 15 pages typed up in big print. And I would read all kind of management styles and all this other kind of BS just to keep the show rolling. So,
oh wow! And this was, you said this was 2019.
Well, back up from whenever the pandemic started, it was 18 months before that.
Okay, yes, yeah. So in that time frame, so it's I guess that is pre-Chat GPT. You know, I don't get like a script from the show at all, but I will have like an outline notes that Chat GPT has helped me. I'll put in, I'll say, hey, this is what I want to talk about on the show this week. You know, it'll pull some current events. I mean, it's amazing where it's gone and how quickly it's moving. You know, one of the points in our talk with Elliot Vigil was, you know, I said, hey, the guys that are getting in on AI early are the guys that are going to be. He's like, well, this, you know, it was 6 years ago. Those were the guys that got in early. You know,
right?
And hey, fair point. You know, maybe I'm one of the guys that thought I got in early and did, because I hadn't been on it for 6 years. I might have a year and a half. I don't know where that would put me on the curve. Hopefully, a little ahead, anyway.
And then there's another one. I use Perplexity, just like ChatGPT, which it's a little bit more specific with the numbers, if you will.
Okay.
You know? So that's just another. It costs you, I think, $200 a year. Ooh. But some of the projects I'm working on, it has saved me days and days of research. You can get it in like a minute. It's just
it's amazing.
Learn how to ask the right questions.
And tell it what you want. Like, so somebody, I asked a guy that uses a lot for some tips, and he was like, look, if you're asking it to do something, tell it to be an expert in that field. Hey, you're a civil engineer. How do I do a bypass? You're a author. How, write a book. It's amazing, just by telling it these little things, what the higher functionality you'll get out of it, rather than it sitting there looking from its perspective, I guess. I don't know. That to me, it refined a lot of my search.
Yeah. I mean, it'll even give you like a chart of accounts. Say, I want to start this kind of a business. I need an accounting system. Give me create a chart of accounts, and it'll even do that for you.
That's amazing. That's, hey, I need some of that going right now. All right. So let's get into a couple of these questions. I don't want to take, I don't want it to feel too formal or structured, but so for somebody who may not know the whole story, give us a quick version. What does your business look like today? Between the business, the brokerage, the consult, everything that you do, how do you tie that into, I guess, hell, everything you got going on?
Well, I've been in the business. I've been attached to the industry for 60 years. Okay. Starting in high school, basically. And, I've grown several companies. I've sold several companies as a leader in some companies. I was very involved with the growth and the merger and acquisition side of the industry. The only other industry I've been involved with outside of equipment is the pipeline maintenance industry for oil and gas. That a friend of mine asked me to come in and help him grow that, and I did that, and then we sold it, and that's when I had some time on my hands, and so that's when I did the podcast. I wrote a book, and then some guys asked me to get back into the M&A industry with them. I did that with them for a year, and then I said I can do this by myself without sharing commissions. And I guess in the last few years, I've done about 160 million in transactions. So,
wow.
I've been
Wow.
very fortunate. And Charlie, I haven't left my house. I work out of my house, and I haven't had to visit these people. A lot of it's referral from other friends and stuff like that. And you just got to crunch the numbers and go out and market it in different ways, be it on LinkedIn. I do some direct mail. I do some direct contacts of regional companies who might want to grow to that area, that type of thing. So
that's pretty amazing.
The whole industry's been very rewarding, I would say.
And does it, the brokerage side of it, does it all center around the heavy equipment, or have you branched into other things?
I have two companies that are not related to rental. I've got a standby generator sales and service company over in Mississippi. I've got a blasting and painting equipment company for sale down in South Louisiana. Some of those smaller ones and even the equipment rental ones that are small are so much harder to sell than a big one. If you're not doing a couple of $1 million a year, they just don't even want to bother with it.
Well, and that's the thing, like with Swing Away, my golf business is listed for sale. We've just decided that we'd rather tie up our money in other things. But selling the vision of a new business as opposed to, a business that has, the formula calculations.
All right, watch my first hole in one. Just carrying on, man, bro.
Right, what is it, 1.3 times EBITDA, and that's your number. When you're asking somebody to pay and you don't have the numbers to support it, it probably makes your job as a broker a lot harder too, huh?
Well, it does. And, unfortunately, the smaller the business, they don't really check their numbers regularly. Okay. Not to mention that and there's nothing wrong with this, but they run so much stuff through the business that when you're trying to get an adjusted EBITDA number or non-recurring owner expenses, I would say, when you got 3 kids on the payroll for health insurance and car insurance and cell phones and all that kind of stuff, it's okay to do that. But then when you go to sell it, you got to be able to track that to quantify that those are the real numbers that won't be recurring, that will increase the cash flow of the business.
Sure. No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I've learned more about cash flow in the last year with this business. You just always think, you work your way down a P&L as you work in a corporate, as you work for somebody else. You have your top line numbers, then you fight like hell to take some of that down to the bottom line. But it's, in the small business world, it's not so. It's more about cash flow. If I can get that cash flow in the right place, I don't even have to necessarily hit my break even numbers, because everything's hitting at the right time. I've got the cash flow moving when I need to write the checks. The money's coming in, but it's it catches up, right? It doesn't build that way forever.
Right. And some smaller companies don't even do their depreciation until the end of the year. And when I got into the pipeline maintenance business, it was to prepare that business, to grow it, and to sell it. And so on our monthly financials, we had the EBITDA number every month as to where we were tracking. So we wouldn't have to go back and research all the shit to say, let's go back and calculate. It was just
trust me.
part of the standard stuff that we did.
Yeah. Now, how at that level does that kind of data roll up? Because I know at the branch manager level, like, you know, the first 5 days of the month, I'm cleaning up. Last month, I'm the one researching those you know, expenses and figuring out why something's in one bucket needs to go to the other. And I will say, for United Rentals, you know, they had a very robust uh, software that made it relatively easy. It was still a pain, but it was easier than I saw it at other companies.
Right. Well, always one of the targets was to close as fast as possible, you know, and if you can close in a week, then you can actually see where the problems are so that you can start adjusting for that month that you're already in and starting and see, like in pipeline maintenance, there's a ton of labor. Okay. And if you can have guys in the yard, but if they're not out working, that's still an expense. It's unbilled labor. And it's a real cost, and it can kill you.
Oh yeah. I've got a buddy right now whose work's dried up, and he's paying 2 crews to sit idle.
Exactly.
You know, I didn't really think about it, but you know, he made the point: when you've got good people, you've got to fight, you know, tooth and nail to keep them. And I've been preaching that from the top side. I guess I never thought about it from that end, you know, rolling up that way. But man, I tell you, it's everywhere you look in small business, there's another little struggle. It's fun now. I'm not complaining. I'm enjoying it, and this is, for all intents and purposes, a master's degree for me, in my opinion. You know, I've learned more, like I said, in the last 6 months doing this than I ever did at my fine Auburn University there. Not taking anything away. I loved Auburn, great education, but you know, nothing can compare you or prepare you for what you actually see once you get out and start screwing things up in the real world.
Right. By the way, my son-in-law went to Auburn.
Did he? War Eagle to him. War Eagle, they a great place. If they'd let me go back, I would, but I think they were after my 5-year plan, going back twice. I think they were ready for me to get out. So they let me come back on game days every now and then. That's about it.
Let's just say I wasn't asked to leave, but I left.
Yeah, right. So talk about, you know, what you've seen the industry now, going back to rental specific, what you've seen in the industry in the time you've been in. I mean, if you're in your 70s now, what, 50 years of watching it evolve?
Well, there's so many things that have changed, Charlie. And so, like, I would say one of the biggest parts of the industry now is aerial equipment. You know, so when I was coming in, aerial was really just getting started. I mean, it just didn't exist. And now you've got specialty houses that do nothing but that. And so our business was kind of light contractors, do-it-yourselfers, medical, party, everything. We had 17 locations all over South Louisiana. And so I migrated into bigger equipment as I changed jobs over the years. Okay. And then after Hurricane Katrina, when I opened up my own company with a couple of guys, I knew exactly what we needed to have, quite frankly. I knew how many compressors, which, you know, had slowed down a bit, compact equipment, aerial equipment, some earth moving equipment. You know, we didn't have any dozers, but we had some good sized excavators. And the key to that business is that we were located right next to the New Orleans Superdome, downtown New Orleans. I mean, right next door. And we would have most of our parking for free on game days. We'd move all the equipment into a corner, and then the customers come in for free. And those who weren't customers paid $20, which helped pay for the beer and all the food that we gave to the customers. So
you can't beat that. That's wonderful. What a setup.
Think about how equipment has changed. There's so many more safety features. The equipment's so much smarter. You know, with telematics, you can do so much with that. I mean, it's just the world has changed over the years and just gotten better. I'm not big on all this electric stuff, quite frankly, that's coming into the market.
Are we getting into the final tier 4? That's what we're talking about. Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, just in general, you know, I always picture a skid steer in the middle of a job site that runs down and stops, and how are you going to get it back to the charging station versus grabbing a 5-gallon can of diesel and have it back running in 10 minutes.
That's true. That's true, but now they got them like the little Roombas. You know, they sense that they're getting low, and they tell you, hey, either you take me back to the base or I'm going back. You know, my golf cart that derated itself a mile from my house down to 10 miles an hour, and said that's the only way you can make it home. It didn't know how far home was, but it's I guess it's got a certain distance that it let me limp it on back.
And again, technology and equipment's much smarter all the way around.
It is. It is. And just in my brief time, the telematics, what we were able to do with that, you know, specifically to sewer bypass, you know, back in the day, you'd have to have a whole crew, you know, sitting with these pumps 24 hours a day.
Right.
And now the way we've got it set up, you put the right gear in these bypasses. I can tell you your flow. I can tell you, you know, your run cycles, your RPMs. I can tell you how that pump's breathing day in and day out. And, you know, the right guy can do that on multiple projects. And that's, you know, that's been amazing to watch for me. But kind of taking it back and piggybacking off that question a little bit, when did, you know, previously it was, you know, going to the aerial equipment, I would assume if somebody had that, you know, aerial 820-foot boom, they're the guy in that area that did anything that needed that 120-foot boom, until somebody said, well, let me buy 5 of them and try to rent them. Is
Right.
that it? How did that, I mean, look, I mean, that must have been the absolute Wild West, you know, just seeing, hey, would this be better for the customer if I bought it and they rented from me? And then once you're rewarded with that decision and how it just blows up, it must have been incredible.
You know, I remember us buying 2, back then it was called Selma lifts out of Selma, California. And they were like, they were rough terrain, 32-foot height. And that was the newest thing that had hit the city. And unfortunately, my dad had the concept that bigger equipment, bigger debt, bigger receivables, bigger maintenance. And so we decided, after having them a while, we sold them to somebody who started a specialty company in that, because we were like the lean and mean company, you know, quick in and out stuff. And we had in neighborhood stores, it's almost like a convenience grocery store in your corner, you know, when you needed a 6-pack of beer or something like that. It was kind of the quick in and out type of thing rather than the heavy construction. And you had a great relationship with this contractor. I mean, we had great relationships with a lot of people who were in the construction industry, but it wasn't like we were the main focus. If they needed an air compressor package or something like that, or skid steer loader, that was about as big as we got. We got very big into cars and trucks, quite frankly, and at one point had a fleet of about 300 vehicles.
Oh, wow.
All from Ford. I used to spend my Friday nights repoing vehicles. There's a lot of stories I could tell you about that, but I won't bore you with the details.
Oh, I bet that's not boring at all. I bet you have some great ones.
I'll tell you, the one guy had rented a van, an Econoline van, and I found it, and we always had an extra set of keys. And so I walked up to the van. It was about 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, God.
And I looked in, and the guy was sleeping in it on a sofa. And I said, I'm not going to bang on it he may have a gun. Who knows? So I figured with Mother Nature, he's going to have to go to the bathroom sooner or later. So I waited, and finally he got out and went into this apartment complex, and I jumped in and took all his shit.
That's incredible.
Never heard
That
from
is
him again.
incredible. I mean, what if he just woke up and you're driving? He's like, "Where we going?" "Oh, the repo man. Sorry, dude."
You can't trust that kind of stuff, with,
Yeah,
especially in
no,
today's world.
no, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Golly. So kind of evolved from, the small. And I'll tell you what, on a separate note, one underserved market here is all rental companies have walked away from the homeowner. They used to all maybe not center around the homeowner, but they took special care to have certain things that homeowners would use from time to time, and it's just gone unless you want to go to Home Depot or one of those guys and pay out the nose.
Yeah. Well, during the pandemic, those Home Depots thrived because people were working at home, and so suddenly they had all these projects to do. And so that's the kind of thing, electric jackhammers that anybody can use, floor sanders, just the stuff that you barely see in today's world, quite frankly. But those
I
are bread
wonder.
and butter things for us.
I wonder how they do with like the mini X's, because you see a few of them, like the real little mini X's. I would just always be afraid that somebody would break it, and you go to charge damage on their car, and it's just not there. What do you do?
Yeah.
I guess file insurance.
Yeah. Well, be careful, because if you charge damage waiver, then you can't file against your insurance.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh man, I tell you.
Damage waiver, Charlie. The whole issue with damage waiver is that you can't go back against your insurance company. It's a subrogation issue, in that if you charge somebody 15% damage waiver, or something happens, you usually have some deductibles printed in the fine print. Okay. But when you do that, then you're giving up your right to file a claim with your insurance company, who in turn would go after your customer.
Oh, well, yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that. So a lot of these bigger dealerships and stuff, unless you get a certificate of insurance, they're not going to rent to you.
Yeah, that's I mean, insurance rules the world there, and I'm a private pilot, and I mean, there's certain airplanes I couldn't even look at, with the amount of hours I have, and it has nothing to do with my ability as a pilot. It has to do with no insurance is going to cover.
Right.
And you probably don't want to send a guy that's been 400 hours in a pea shooter to a 737. So I get it to a certain extent, but I mean, there are lines where it kind of gets obnoxious sometimes.
Sure.
Great golf brings people together. At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PuttView, paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun, interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
We sold the boat a while ago, so that, I had been growing my toys to a collection over the years, so now we're kind of narrowing it. But I was talking to my middle son, Teddy, who was a little bummed about all of it. And I said, look, our toys do tend to get a little bit nicer. Now I've got Swing Away Golf Club, although it's a business, not a toy. It's still, I get to play a lot of golf and meet a lot of cool people. So it's still, in my opinion, falls under that category of a big boy toy, even though we intend to attempt to make some money out of it one of these days, hopefully.
Well, let's see. Where are we going to go next with this? You came up through the family rental business. We talked a little bit about the sales and leadership. What role did you feel like you learned the most in it? And then to take that one step further, which one did you enjoy the most?
Well, I can tell you all those titles bring different responsibilities. Okay. So family business, I was vice president, and then I became president, but I became president when we had to file for Chapter 11 because of a horrible accident that you'll read about in the book. And the main thing is that I had to write letters to my dad canceling real estate leases, which is something you're allowed to do during Chapter 11. Okay. Moving on from that company, when I went down south to Buckner Rental after we lost the company, the challenge was I need to be accepted by these people who've been around this company for so many years. And so that's when your reputation is on the line. And so how you treat people and things like that. So I started out as a sales manager. 3 months later became general manager, but moved to Houma from New Orleans. And then 3 years later, we sold the company and I became president. And the then president became CEO. And we had a board of 5 people that were all investment bankers.
Okay, so one of the earlier private equity into the equipment industry ventures, I guess.
The guys behind it were the same guys who built RSC. But they
Okay.
had fallen out with the head of RSC, and so they went on a search for another company that they could grow. And Buckner Rental in Houma was the one. We had 7 locations, and so as president, I helped build it to 27 locations.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
great.
so that was a real challenging time. I learned a lot, moving into different equipment, offshore equipment that was going out in the Gulf of Mexico on oil rigs and stuff. And so instead of having a wheel mount air compressor, you got a skid mount compressor. Instead of a wheel mount welder, you got a skid mount welder. And all those things had to have emergency shutdown devices. They had to have drip pans to collect any fluids that might leak out of the machine. So there's a lot of different stuff like that I had to learn, and learn fast, quite frankly, because we were moving pretty quickly.
Yeah, oh yeah, that sounds like it. And anytime you go through a major business transaction like that, there's growing pains. There's, you know, looking forward, but not losing what you're doing either, because you know a lot of those guys operate on such thin margins that, you know, 1 or 2 missteps messes up your whole financial picture, and you go from thriving, growing to struggling to survive.
Right. I think one of the most challenging ones was when I got into the pipeline maintenance business. A guy who I'd worked with in the rental industry at Buckner, in fact, we met when he was like 19 and I was 39, I think. Still very close friends today. And I called him about something. He said, "Man, I've been meaning to talk to you. I want you to come have lunch." And I didn't know that pipeline maintenance existed. Okay. So he says, "I got this partner and we do pipeline maintenance work, we do fabrication, and we do blasting and painting." I said, "That's fine." He says, "I know that you know how to grow companies. I want you to come on as a COO and help me grow this company and sell it." And we did that. Okay. When I got there, they had 1 location doing 13 million. So I opened a branch in Texas. I bought a company in Alabama, and I took over a company in Mississippi. And so then we had 4 locations doing 64 million within a few years. And then we sold it to private equity. Okay. Private equity had me as president fire the founders of the company. Okay. They didn't realize, you know, how the relationship in this business really worked. And I told them they were crazy for doing it. They gave me a year's severance if I would do it. And then they started bringing in their own people. And then they didn't need me anymore. So
Or were they successful?
they shut down after 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, you can't just go in and butcher a place like that. Not one that's built on culture, you know, trust, relationship. It just, you know, I'm not saying there's not industries you can't just go in, buy, kick out, and roll. But I just don't feel like heavy equipment is. I mean, from the mechanic that, you know, I mean, there's the backbone of the company. You know, I mean, I've always said salesmen are a dime a dozen, right? You can go out and sell, and you can find anybody to sell anything. What you can't find are the guys that are going to actually keep that equipment running to make sure that the promises that sales guy's out making actually go through, you know, actually come to fruition.
Yeah. You know, so when I was writing the book, the first thing I did was outline the chapters of my life that I wanted to talk about. And so when I came to, my buddy's name is Travis Bergeron, by the way, and the company was called Marlin Services. And
I've heard of Marlin Services. I have.
well, we were in Alabama, sure, Prattville, Alabama.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. By that time, it wasn't my territory, but I remember seeing it on Target list. What were y'all doing in Prattville, Alabama?
Yeah. So I said, how do I describe what I did as a COO of a company? So I looked it up, and it says, and I'm just going to read this. So what does a COO do? I said, I read an interesting article that goes like this. There's no one job description for COOs, but they are almost always inward-facing bureaucrats who make sure the trains run on time, cut a low profile, and toil in the shadow of their bosses.
Hey,
So-
that's a good way to put it.
Well,
That is a good way. Well, let's say, how about the best ones do that? Some will try to, get in the way, get their voice heard above everybody. Some will, fail to meet the operational standards. Because I mean, look, operational excellence in this field is critical. I mean, there's fields that it's not quite as critical on. I mean, look, I will, if I go to a restaurant, if the food is mediocre and the service is good, I will go back. And that's, to me, that's operations, right? Sales is your service.
Right. So I'll recap it like this. So we took over this company in Mississippi, and one of the guys went to Travis and said, what exactly does Mr. Donald do? You know what his response was? He takes care of all the shit.
Yeah. Anything you don't want to do rolls to his desk. Yeah.
So he was the leader of the company, but like, let's open a branch in Texas. So somebody has to go up there, get permitted, get a place, get all the supplies for the people, help hire the people, all those kinds of things.
Oh yeah.
So the place in Mississippi, they had an existing office and it had all this beautiful furniture in there, boardroom tables and stuff. And guys, I said, how much do you want for all this? He said, this stuff's worth about $20,000. And I looked around and I said, well, I can replace it all for $4,000. And he said, I'll take it.
Yeah. I fear that I may be in a similar situation there, because I had a buddy of mine, in fact, a Marine colonel that lives in New Orleans. He's on one of those logistics bases. They're really, really good guy, but he does woodworking on the side. So he got some second growth cypress from down there, and just made this absolutely wonderful live edge bar top. And it cost not quite 20,000, but it wasn't far off. And if this place goes under, that somehow or another, that bar top's coming with me.
It's called excluded assets.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, if you owe the money to the bank, can you exclude anything? I doubt it. We'll see. We'll see. They're going to get their bite if we get there. Fingers crossed. All right. So going back, let's talk a little bit now about the consulting that you're doing. I think you and I communicated via email that I've started a consulting business as well, but mine is based on selling. So I've got a strategy of fleet gapping for very specific, bypass customers that work on a very specific size of project. I can basically come in and say, okay, this is where your business is now. This is where you want to go. These are the size of jobs you want to go. These are the amount that are coming out. This is the right amount of pumps, the sizing of the pumps that will get everything that you need. You won't have to go out and rent on these projects unless you go outside of, this little comfort zone we've built. And basically define that strategy, and then define the pump that they'll need in that strategy, and then sell them that pump. So I think that's kind of different. So your consulting is on kind of more the leadership, the growth, the scaling. Is that correct?
Yeah, and startups. When I was with Buckner, I ended up doing, I call it a new store opening plan, and also a transitioning plan. If we bought a company, there's certain things that need to happen. But if we're going to go into another market, everything from the scratch pads for the salesman, getting permitting and all those kind of things that have to happen. So somebody comes to me and says, I'm thinking about starting a rental company. I can give them this book, so to speak, about all the different aspects that you'll have to do in order to start numbering systems, things that people don't think about, software that you have to acquire. It's very rare you find somebody in this industry now that doesn't have a software package attached to them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
some of that consulting right now, I'm actually on 3 advisory boards for companies that are in the equipment industry. One of them is called chassis.ai. And all these guys found me on LinkedIn, by the way. And it's an AI concierge service for sales teams that they can track every sales call, phone call, email, text, whatever. So people don't have to spend their nights writing up reports and all that kind of stuff. Another one we just launched called Equip Hunter, which is a new used equipment sale website that has some AI features in it that we think is kind of a step above the way people have normally just gone onto a machinery trader and looked at hundreds of pieces of equipment. And then how do you know which one is really the one to buy?
So kind of a step up from Ralph's. I think that's what we use.
Right. And then the third one is a company called D-Rental, which is a lead generation company that we get contractors to go to the D-Rental to order their equipment online. And then we get a small percentage for a transaction fee. So those are the 3 main ones that I'm involved with and stay pretty steady on right now.
Pretty neat. That is. That's I guess I'm just not there yet. Nobody's going to pay me for my mind, so I gotta kind of find some back where I can get in. Well, I guess I don't know. The mind, the fleet gapping is a bit of a mind, but it's really anybody could do it if they look close enough and really worked hard enough to figure it out.
And it just kind of depends on the project. If it's a straight M&A deal, work off a certain percentage of the sale, not including real estate if it's in California or Florida, because I'm not licensed there. If it's a consulting deal, depending on what I think time it's going to take, there may be an hourly fee. And there's been some with some of these new startups that I'm actually doing it for equity in the company. See, it's going to take off. Then it's better for me to have shares than to record some income.
Oh, absolutely. You don't find a whole lot of people that are willing to see the forest through the trees and make those deals. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or that have the wherewithal, right? Not many people are in the position where they don't, need a paycheck coming in every week,
Right.
or can sustain operations long term without one anyway.
Right.
All right. So, man, I mean, I think we've talked great about how the AI is starting to come in. I think we took it back to kind of the beginnings of the industry in that where you started to see things going from little skid steers and they to the big iron. That's not going to be just one company that owns it that goes around doing all these jobs, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, most definitely. One of the fun, challenging jobs I had, of the many that I've had, was starting the cat rental program for the local cat dealer here. And so we took people from 4 different companies and got all their ideas together. I had my own ideas how things should work, but if we had a guy from Herc and if we had a guy from RSC, that could help and say, this is how we did it. And everybody brainstormed together to get the best ideas. So I opened 7 of those locations from scratch all over the state of Louisiana.
That's awesome. That really, I mean, it's things like that, the experiences that can't be bought in a university. It can't be taught in a school. You can tell your stories, but it's you'll have a gut that nobody else will have because of the things that you've seen. There's so much talk about instinct in this business, but it's learned as much as it is inherent. There's people that parse information better than others, but the people that have the true gut instinct only got it by being there, right?
Right. And Charlie, one of the things that I learned that in one of my management styles was to try to get people to think for themselves. When somebody has a problem and they have a boss, they're going to go right to the boss, right? And so when that would happen with my guys, I would say, well, what do you think we should do? Well, what do you mean? I said, you're in the trenches with them. You know all the details of the thing. There's always two sides to a story. What do you think we should do? And get their true ideas and get them to get that brain churning a little bit. And sometimes they have great ideas and they help me to solve their own problem. And it's sometimes it might be, well, that's good. I think based on what I know, I think this is what we should do. But I said, don't ever hesitate to not try to solve the problem yourself, right or wrong. Okay. Make a decision and then tell me after the fact. If you need me, I'm always here for you. But
empowerment. Yeah. I mean, the Big Blue Machine made a push on that, but when you get that big, sentiment aside, it's just never going to make it all the way down. Right. It doesn't matter how good you are in your organizational, change, training, flexibility, anything. It's just never going to make it top to bottom all the way down. I mean, would you agree to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and I'm not saying they shouldn't try. I'm not saying you don't have these campaigns because I'm not. It helps. It makes it down. It just. I've never seen a complete transformative, change from top to bottom where you didn't have to kind of shave off, the dead meat along the way.
Right.
Let's see. I had a good question. It was a piggyback off one of them, and now of course my wonderful memory is failing me here. But let's go back and talk kind of about the Rental Equip Talk Radio, because I mean I think that's something special, and I don't know if maybe it might have been a little before its time, or maybe I don't know how you market something like that. I don't know how you market what I do. I mean, I'm just posting stuff on YouTube and LinkedIn and. Kind of like early in my sales career, I didn't know what I was doing. I was throwing darts everywhere, and eventually I found a few that stuck. Right? I guess in my mid 40s, I'm trying to be more strategic, but it's still ultimately it's however many darts you're going to send and how many are going to stick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my marketing plan was pretty simple in that I would post it on LinkedIn, okay, which is for free. But then I'd also run an ad on the RER reports every week to say what the subject matter was going to be, because it came out Monday. My show was Wednesdays at noon. So if it's something of interest, at one point I had a couple thousand listeners in several countries, quite frankly.
Is this streamed? It was streamed.
It was a live show, but then it would go to a podcast. So in other words, you could Google Rental Equip Talk Radio right now, and you'd find some of the shows that are still out there.
Okay. And what platform are they on?
Voice America is all I can tell you.
Okay. All right. I'll have to look into it, because I don't even know where I would store any of my stuff. I don't know how long it stays on YouTube, which is where I'm putting it right now. But apparently, as we keep doing these things, I'm going to build up a ton of data.
Sure.
I mean, what do you do with it?
Ask Elliot. Elliot's got hundreds of them.
What does he do with it? Do you know?
Well, it's on his website.
Oh, okay. But you have to pay to keep all that stuff. I mean, you would, like, I'm in a very small storage category, to have all that, somebody's charging you, right?
I don't think it's very expensive, because even with the Rental Roadshow that we're doing, there's no real cost to storing the videos of people uploading a video tour of their business.
Makes sense. Well, somebody's storing it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not that technical. My daughter handles all that. I'm just
the magic of the internet. It just
idea guy.
It's there. Well, I think you're starting to see a bunch of the talk about the impact of data centers. I think, this is why they're building the data centers. AI takes a lot of processing, but there's also just tons of storage that, I mean, some of these huge data centers are nothing more than a mini storage for your data, if you think about it that way. But it recalls on demand, and it's, amazing times we're living in, Donald. So but that's ultimately what I want to do, but without the broadcast, right? It's going to be, you find my link, it's there, but I don't think I'll ever have like a transmitter to send signal out into the world. I don't even know if they do that anymore.
That's way above my pay grade, I can tell you.
I'm learning more and more about it. I mean, I got some kind of sound mixer the other day that was, almost $1,000. It's supposed to just mesh all this together, and obviously you can tell by the quality of my video, I hadn't figured out how to work it yet, but I'm working on it. Well, Donald, I think I've taken up enough of your time. We're creeping up on 11 o'clock here. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything you got? I've got about 30 subscribers, and I'll tell them, hey, get his book. This is the first book I bought outside of Audible in probably a decade. I'm just a big streamer on that. I listen to books constantly.
All right, watch my first hole in one. Just carrying on, man, bro.
I'm a hard copy guy,
Are you?
Like to fold the pages back, like to underline shit in the book and then go back and see why I underlined it. I'm reading 2 books right now, which I try to do in some of my spare time. One of them is How to Make a Few $1 Billion. It's written by Brad Jacobs, the guy who founded United Rentals.
Oh, really? Okay.
Only in the beginning of it, it talks about the other companies that he's building, multi-billion-dollar companies. And the other one is a book called How to Test Negative for Stupid and Why Washington Never Will. And it's written by our great Louisiana Senator John Kennedy.
Okay.
Who always has all these little fun stories and stuff. If I was stupid, it must have been my brother, or something like that.
He looks enough like me. I'll just throw it right on him.
Yeah.
I didn't have siblings, but my kids are about old enough. I can blame it on them.
I spend my time working all these projects, the M&A stuff and the advisory board stuff. And I've actually got a patent pending for an invention that I've been working on. And I've also got a trademark that I filed for to start another company once it's solidified that will have, I think, an impact on the equipment rental industry.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey,
can't say too much about it.
Keep us surprised though. Keep us. I'm curious now. I like to have my ear on the ground. Me and my buddy down in Mobile are starting a little bit. He's got a little bitty equipment rental thing going on down there. He started with just trailers and is building it up. And we're going to start going after this. Well, more and more. The pump sale thing. He's got some generators getting in. So, I think you're here, we're here, but we're working to get there. We're working real hard too.
Well, people who have read the book said, "How the hell did you get through all that shit?" And the theory is never give up.
One day at a time. That's right.
I'll tell you the lowest point of my life. Okay, was that I had lost the family business. We started another company with an investor. Over a weekend, I put together a business plan. We shrunk down to 4 locations. And after the first year, my dad and he had a falling out, and I left the company too. I was divorced, 3 kids, living in an apartment. I filed personal bankruptcy, business bankruptcy, and lost the company I had just started. I didn't have a job. I didn't own a car. And I'd gone for an interview with Robert Buckner at the New Orleans airport, the Hilton, And on the way back, I stopped at an intersection and I kind of looked up and I said, here's where I am. And I just told you all the stuff, divorce, bankruptcy, kids, blah, 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 new job. And I looked up and said, what the hell else can go on? And Charlie, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Smoke started coming out from under the hood.
Oh, geez.
My borrowed car from my dad. And I said, life's got to be better,
Thanks for that one. Yeah. That's I was telling my wife, to piggyback off that every now and then the universe just slaps you. We're struggling here. This is a business that needs rain, right? It's amazing to me. I could be dead. I haven't had a person the whole time we've been sitting here, but you let a few drops of rain start, man, my phone rings. I mean, I've got people I can't keep them out. And I started looking because I was like, what? It's just been unnaturally beautiful this spring. Last spring and this fall have been like generationally the best fall spring combo in 25 years. And I was like, hey, thanks. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Well, I can tell you, let me tell you my take on golf since you're in it. Okay.
Come on.
Number one, it's the hardest sport I've ever tried in my entire life.
No doubt.
And I used to be pretty athletic in my day. Okay. Number two, when I was playing, I had a 6 handicap.
Oh, wow. 6
balls or 6 beers, whatever went first.
Yeah. You can't do well, you can at least catch a buzz. That's right. Just like fishing.
Number 3, physically, I've had a shoulder replacement and 3 fusions in my lower back and torn labrums in both hips. So I've lost range of motion, don't like to twist a lot to swing a club, so I don't play anymore. But the fourth thing is that every Sunday afternoon, I love watching the final round of these golf championships. Those guys are just freaking amazing. What they can do on a golf course and read the greens and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how they do it.
No, and this past weekend, Cameron Young, I mean, winning by, was it 4 strokes? I think just telling the golf world, here I am. Hope you're ready. And they've been saying it for a while that he was going to be special. And I think now you're starting to see it with the win at the Players. Dominating win here, coming up on another major? Is it next week? I think. Yeah.
Well, we just had the Zurich Classic here, and it's a team event, and the 2 Fitzpatrick brothers from Ireland won it, 2nd year in a row.
Yep. And good on him. It got the brother his tour card. I thought that was phenomenal. I was very, very pleased about that. And I tell you what I do. So I have that course, TPC Louisiana, on my simulators here. So when I have the course that they're playing at that week, I'll set every setting I have as hard as I can absolutely make it and go out and play these courses. And I didn't break 100 one time. And I'm not a bad golfer, but I mean, these guys are playing from 7,500 yards. I hit it 250. Do the math. It just doesn't get there. But it's fun, and it gives you, it really makes you respect what these guys are doing week in and week out.
Well, when you put the course here on your thing, do you put alligators on it?
No, but Torrey does have the parasailers, the guys flying around on the parachutes when you play Torrey Pines. Sure do.
Funny.
Well, Donald, thank you so much again, man. I mean, this was wonderful. Open invitation anytime you'd like to be on the show. I know you're a busy guy, but we do this like it's kind of on demand right now. That all this, I just come on, turn it on, I can start it up and go. I try to post 1 show a week. I have not posted since last week because we're still editing Elliot's interview, and then I'm upgrading my gear. So. Also, did we talk about the production company?
No.
So it was pointed out to me that I've invested a quite a bit amount of money in this podcast gear, and that it just sits here most of the day. So what we're going to do is we're going to rent this podcast studio here for $75 an hour. We're also going to rent the gear, like if somebody wants to take it out off site, it's mobile. You can do live broadcast. And then to flip that, I met a girl that does editing that's just incredible at what she does. And when she saw the gear, she was like, look, we could film commercials. So So now we're in the process. We're going to call it Swing Time Media, and we're going to go out and find some customers. Let us do some, some commercials, some SOP videos, safety videos, anything like that. It's because she's so good. I still have no clue what I'm doing, but I know how to get on camera and sound halfway intelligent sometimes. So we're gonna give it a shot, see where it goes. I think if I get enough pots open, one of them might save the golf business.
Just be careful with that title of Swing Time.
8% of my website hits are looking for a swingers club. 8%. I mean, I don't get a ton of hits on my website, but I thought that was a pretty significant number. Looking for swingers clubs. I said, hell, should we try swingers night? I mean, 8%. I could use it.
That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
Yes, sir. Well, again, thank you so much. If I can do anything, one more plug for the book and everything Donald's got working on. It is a great book. If anything, if you don't want to go out and buy it yourself, come borrow it here at Swing Away. It's a great read. I'm about halfway through. I had trouble putting it down tonight. That's why I was a little bit late this morning. I read it into the night and didn't get all of my beauty rest. So I'm going to finish it tonight, and it's just been a great read. Thank you so much for your time, Donald. It's been a pleasure. Stay in touch. Be on the show whenever you want, and best wishes to you.
Good. Appreciate it, buddy. Take care.